Hi, this is Delene with McDonald's Sewing and Vacuum, and today I want to introduce you to the felting embroidery set from Husqvarna Viking. It's also available for the PFAFF machines, and it works basically the same way. And I'm going to be sewing on a Husqvarna Viking Designer Brilliance 80. So the first thing we want to do after you open the box, there's a nice set of instructions in here. And there are 3 different types of felting techniques that this attachment can do. So I'm going to take you through each one. Also, you need to open your bobbin case and take out the bobbin that's in there, because you will not be using any bobbin thread with this attachment. So they've given us a blank bobbin case to fool the machine into thinking that we have bobbin thread in there. Otherwise, it's going to warn us that there is out of bobbin thread. So you want to put it in so that the empty side is up, just like that, just drops right in there. And then you can put your cover back on your bobbin case. The next piece is this plate cover, and what this does is actually cover up the feed dogs. And there are 2 little holes on the machine, and on the back of this little attachment there are 2 little tabs. So those go in each hole, and there we go. And it fits right there on top of your feed dog, so it doesn't try to feed the fabric through, and it's nice and smooth. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is take off the sensor Q foot, the embroidery foot, and there's a separate foot for this one. After I take this foot off, I'm going to take the needle out. So it comes with a set of specialty needles for this. So I'm going to unthread the machine, and in most cases, most of the designs that are made for this technique don't have thread, although some of them do, where you would change your thread and put in a regular needle again. But for right now, I'm going to take this needle out, and I'm going to put in a new needle, felting needle. And these needles are fairly short, a lot shorter than we're used to. I'm going to get my little handy dandy multi-purpose tool here and put the needle in there with the flat part to the back. And then I can use it to just put the needle up where it needs to go in front of the shaft and tighten it up. If I can get my screwdriver in there. There we go. Okay, so that part's ready. Now I need, this is the specialty foot that comes with it. So I'm going to slide that on, and it looks like that when you put it on. Take that screw and put it in just like you would any other foot. So this is one of my favorite techniques, or one of my favorite attachments, because it just adds such different possibilities for embroidery. Okay, so tighten that up and set that aside. So now the first technique I want to cover is called 1-layer embroidery. And often what you're going to be using for that, if you choose to do 1-layer embroidery, is a pair of denim jeans. These have to be 100% cotton. This does not work well with spandex. All it does is poke through lumpy things. And what it's going to do is I'm going to put everything on with the wrong side up. So with a felting attachment, you are going to be working with things upside down. Okay, so I'm going to touch my screen. One of the nice things about both the Epic and the Designer Brilliance 80 is that you can come in here. I'm set up for embroidery. You can come in here on the home screen and choose a technique. So I scrolled through until I found felting embroidery. I touched that, and it brings me the different types of felting embroidery that where there are designs on the screen for that. So I'm going to touch the felting embroidery, the single layer, and it's nice because it comes up with some instructions down here on how to do it. So in addition to the little handout that comes in your box, there's more information here. So, and it also brings up the designs that you can stitch. You probably can't see them. There are two, but they're white. So I'm going to go back home. This is another one of the features of the Brilliance that I really love. And I'm going to change the background of my screen so that I can see this a little bit better. Now I'm going to go back into the single layer designs, and I'm going to choose the star. And you can see now that I've changed my background, you can actually see the design. Okay, I'm going to minimize. I don't really need to look at these instructions, so I'm going to minimize that. And I'm going to be using the 180 by 130 magnetic hoop. So I've selected the hoop size down here on the screen. I'm going to change it to the 180 by 130 medium, or magnetic, there we go, hoop. And we're going to stitch this on a pair of Patrick's old jeans. I pressed go. Now I'm going to press continue to go on into stitch out mode. I'm going to put the hoop on the machine. This is a metal hoop, and on top of it, I'm going to place my denim with the dark side down. And the great thing about this is I can just use the magnets that come with the hoop. I actually bought an extra, it comes with 4. I bought an extra set of 4 because I felt like that held my fabric a little bit better. So get these all on here and make sure they're on the frame itself. Okay, now that's all I have to do for this. There's only one color in my color block list, and I'm ready to go. So I'm just going to press the start stop button. And what it's going to do is it's going to push the white fabrics on the back, or the white threads on the back of the denim through to the front. There are only 1,000 stitches, a little over 1,000 stitches on this, so it won't take very long. Okay, there we go. So it's finished the design, and I'm going to pull this out of the hoop, or the hoop off the machine, but I'm going to leave the denim there, and there you go. See the little star? Now if I wanted that to show even a little bit better, I could go over it twice and it would be a little bit more defined, but I think that looks pretty good right there. On an earlier piece of denim, I decided to, because this denim is lighter in color, I couldn't see my design very well. So what I did was take some wool roving, which is that's what this is. This is wool that hasn't been spun into yarn yet. It's been colored and processed. And what I did was put this in the same hoop with the front side down and put the wool roving on the back, and I'll show you how this works in a little bit. And it showed with my little peace sign there. So this is one form of 2-layer felting. So the second type of felting is 2-layer felting. And I did one a little bit earlier. I actually used 2 layers of wool fabric to make this little butterfly. So there's the cream wool on the front. I put it face down, and then I put a piece of pink wool on the back and stitched this design, and it took those wool fibers up to the front and made a beautiful pink design. All kinds of things you could do with this. You could put it on the back of a denim jacket, or you could make a pillow with it, or I don't know, you guys might even be more creative than I could. Put it on a bag. There's all kinds of things you can do with that. This time I'm going to use just felt, plain old felt, wool felt. It's not great quality, but it's what you can get at the local stores. So I'm going to put the dark side down. I have a piece of purple felt that I'm going to layer in the hoop. And I have a piece of white felt. And for this design, the white is going to come through to the purple side. So I'm going to go ahead and hoop it like I did before with the magnets. more down here. Okay, and on the screen, I'm back home. I'm going to select the second option, which is those two-layer, multi-layer felting embroideries. I'm going to just choose this little paisley design, and I'm going to let the help go away. And now it's this dark purple. I'm dark purple, but I can see that well enough that I'm going to leave it there. Once again, I'm going to change my hoop to the 180 by 130 magnetic hoop and press go. And continue. I don't need to change anything in the options on the way in. Put the hoop in and press start stop. And once again, we only have one color block. So I'm going to press start stop, and it's going to start pushing those white layers of fabric through. And the nice thing about the new MySewNet embroidery library is that you can have access to over 5,000 designs, and there are quite a few felting designs in that subscription. It works kind of like Netflix. It's $24.99 a month, and you get access to all of those designs, and they add more every week. So that starting out, they had 4,000, and we're over 6,000, I think, now. So it's really exciting to have access to all of that. And if you were thinking about the felting attachment, but you thought, you know, for only a few designs it was a little expensive, having the embroidery library available is a great way to get some more designs. And with the Designer Brilliance 80, you can access the MySewNet library designs. You search for them on your computer, but then you can make them your favorite and access them on your machine. So there we go. There's a pretty little paisley design with the felt. And the third type of felting is freestanding felting. And I'm going to choose the star. Now the fun thing about this star is that it has both felting and some stitching with thread after the felting. So we're going to do a little bit of stitching and felting. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to change my hoop size. This time I'm going to use the 120 by 120 hoop with some water-soluble stabilizer inside. And I can show you before we start sewing. This is a similar type design. I got this one again off of the MySewNet library. I think this could be earrings, it could be a little necklace, you could use it as a key fob, all kinds of fun things. I had a lady come in with beautiful decorations that she'd put on her tennis shoes the other day. It was really pretty. So there are all kinds of things you can do with smaller designs like that. Okay, so I'm ready to go. I'm going to press go. And again, I don't need to make any changes here. I put my hoop on, and then I'm going to be working with the wool roving again. I'm going to use this bright yellow, and what you need to do is kind of pull it apart, make it cover up your space where it's going to stitch evenly. Okay, and I've done one layer going vertically and one going horizontally. And then one more thing you need to do, I save my scrap water-soluble stabilizer to put on top of this. The reason you want to do that is that if you don't, this wool roving is going to get caught up in here inside the foot and cause you all kinds of grief. I know that because I've done it. So here we go. I'm going to press start stop. Now this time what it's going to do is it's going to take this wool and felt it. So you get the idea of how felt is created here. And until it all gets kind of flattened out, I just make sure it doesn't move around too much with my hands. Just try to stay out of the way. And so while that's sewing out, I want to show you some of the things you can do with this is called freestanding felting. And this is something that I made with just one leaf design. I chose different colors of wool roving and combined them in different ways to make the fall leaves. And the leaves actually have some stitching on them to show the veining. I added some lace and some organzas and put them on a little wreath with some burlap and had a really pretty fall decoration. I just pinned these on, so if I ever wanted to take them off and put them on a jacket or some other use for them, I can do that. But I just really enjoyed making this. It was a lot of fun. Another thing that I did with that felting techniques with the leaves, Viking had a convention in Las Vegas, and they asked us all to bring Mardi Gras, oh no, it was New Orleans, of course, Mardi Gras masks. And so I made ours with, I took some fabric that looks like trees and covered the masks with that and Mod Podge, and then I put leaves and all kinds of lacy things on it for our masks. We had kind of a outdoorsy Kansas type of Mardi Gras mask. So it's really kind of, all of this is really only kind of limited by your imagination. You also don't have to use designs that are specifically made for felting. You can take anything that's a little bit more open, not a lot of satin stitching, although there is some, but there needs to be enough white space for the design to show. You can use other designs for this purpose. Just one thing to keep in mind is that it's going to be backwards. So words have to be reversed. Letters need to be reversed if you're going to felt them. And for those of you who have the Premiere Plus software, either Premiere Plus or Premiere Plus 2, you can create your own felting designs in there, in that software. And if you want to, you can also reverse lettering and things like that in the software. So it's making a first pass at it, knocking all the roving down. Okay. Okay, so it's finished with the first felting, and I'm going to come over here to my hoop position and select trim position, and it's going to move the hoop out where I can access it. And what's nice is now I can just pull away this water-soluble stabilizer, and you can see how it's tacked it down. And I'm just going to come in here, probably didn't have enough here, like I said earlier. I'm going to trim away some of this, and honestly, sometimes the trim position is fine. Sometimes I need a little more space. And you can start to see that there's a star in there. Okay, I don't usually do this, but I think I'm going to add a little bit more here and put the water-soluble stabilizer on top again because that's so lightly done there. And now we're ready for step 2. So I put the hoop back in, go back to the current stitch position and start going again. And what it's going to do now is add some more definition, some additional decoration to the felting. And here's where sometimes I'll add a second or third color if I want to get some variety. Now, one important thing when we're done, anytime you use the felting attachment, you need to get into your bobbin case and clean. The wool really sheds a lot. Okay, now we need to do a little bit more, but I'm once again going to take off the water-soluble stabilizer off the top for a moment. And since I added the rest of that extra felting, or roving, I'm going to trim that away. Maybe we'll have a little bit better shaped star. Okay. And then I'm going to put some of this back on again and do the third one. This time we've got 1,300 stitches. So what I did when I made the wreath, all those leaves for the wreath, is I actually copied it into the design into a bigger hoop and made lots of copies and kind of did them all at once. So that can, it still takes a while, but it seems to cut down a little bit on the time that it takes to make each one. And this is the kind of embroidery where you actually can do it and walk away. There are some things that I stitch that I don't leave, like t-shirts, baby onesies, things that might go astray or get or move around a little bit. But because we don't have any thread, we don't have any bobbin thread, all it is a needle going up and down. This really seems to be something you can start and go. So it's really nice that way. Okay, so now it's telling me that I need to add a color. So I'm going to be switching back over to regular embroidery with thread. So I'm going to take the hoop out and I'm just going to pull that water-soluble stabilizer off, set the hoop aside, and then I have to take it all apart. So I'm going to take off the foot first. Got the foot off. I'm going to take the needle off, or out, and I'm going to put in a regular embroidery needle. I like using this multi-purpose tool for that because I don't poke myself with the needle as much and I don't have to get my hands all the way in there. There we go. Got the needle in there. Now I need to take this little cover of the stitch plate off and we're going to put on the regular embroidery foot. This machine takes what's called the sensor Q foot. There we go. Got the screw lined up in the threads now, and I'm going to come in and tighten it up. And I'm going to thread it with some white thread first. There's just a little bit of stitching in the white, so I'm going to take that down and around into the guide. I like to put the foot down, use the needle threader, bend the needle, lift the foot back up so I can get the hoop under there. Okay, so I've got the needle in and the foot on, and then this needle plate, or the plate cover, out of there. And then I'm going to take the blank bobbin out. I'm going to put back in my bobbin thread. There we go. Normally I would, because this is a freestanding item, I would match my bobbin thread to the top thread, but I'm not going to do that right now. But just so you know, it looks best if you have the same thread on the front and the back. All right, and I'm going to start sewing the embroidery designs on top of this little star to give it a little more detail. Get that thread out of there. And I still don't think I really had enough roving down here, so that's something to think about. You can use your four corners to see where it's all going to go. I just kind of spread it out. You can see where it's stitched beyond it. So it's kind of a sad little star. All right, then I've got one more color to stitch. Okay, I've got this pretty bright purple that should show up really well on the yellow. So when you do embroidery, machine embroidery, there's a lot of threading that goes on. And you get to the point where you get to be pretty good at it, I think. Okay. So this is just going to add some detail around the edges. So now I can take this out, and I've got a pretty little star. Like I said, that could look a little bit better in there. And I'm going to take it out of the hoop. And if you have not worked with water-soluble stabilizer before, I would just trim around here, not too close, and then rinse it in the sink, and you would have a nice little standalone star. Okay, so that's basically how the felting embroidery kit works. I hope you enjoy trying it out, and happy sewing!